All right, so today we're going to continue. We're going to do a practice based on this practice of expanding from our senses of the world in terms of sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, and then coming to our inner senses, almost as if, as we've described, that we have this ability to pay attention to different objects. We have this ability to direct our attention, and we have this ability to change perspectives as well, in terms of from what perspective are we choosing to sort of see the world as. And this is a little bit of sort of turning these, we many times we have these our senses are perceiving what is happening in the external world. So if we have searchlights on, for instance, we're constantly looking from what's coming from the external in, right? What are we seeing? Well, right now you're seeing me. I'm, supposedly outside of you, and you're perceiving this information with your eyes. You're listening. The sound is coming. And you're feeling, you're touching something, you touch something that's external, you make contact with that, your skin compresses. And that's the majority of our life, actually, what we're paying attention to. There's a big part of this practice, though, that really asks you to start to pay attention to what's within your own body. What are the subtle senses that you're noticing within your own body? When you're doing a body scan, it's not necessarily only let's say you're lying down on your bed and you're noticing the contact that your skin is making with the bed, but you're also asking yourself, what am I feeling from the inside out? And so this is a way of placing our attention on the inside. And we covered last week some anatomy, because in my opinion, having a sense of the anatomy is really helpful in terms of when you direct your attention to that place. That when you know the anatomy, your attention can be more refinedly placed. You can also direct your attention and sort of have a sense of where you are relative to other organs, where you are relative to space or fluid or nerves or blood vessels or what it might be. And to me, this is really important, because this is a way of navigating energetic movements within the body, and to start to have a relationship with them. So that if you do notice, for instance, a tightening in a specific spot, that you can localize it in your body. If you notice an opening in a specific spot, that you can localize it in your body. By localizing it, you can actually go there with your attention, with your imagination, with your awareness. You can actually go there and start to have a relationship with this energy that is starting to move, or starting to be witnessed, or starting to be activated, or whatever word you want to use. Okay. You will notice this. You might be doing a meditation and all of a sudden you'll feel your heart constricting. You'll feel your heart expanding. You'll feel your neck or your, something in your throat like tightening or loosening. You might feel like you have to cough all of a sudden. You might feel your chest, like your respiratory system. You might feel your digestion. You might notice your bowels moving. You might notice things in your ovaries, in your bladder, in your uterus, you may notice certain subtle, very subtle energetic movements. And to me, it's about being open to these movements with a curiosity. I just noticed that, but coming from your resource, right? So our sort of our place of focus is the resource. We come, we notice some sensation, maybe it's an internal sensation of some sort, and we investigate it with curiosity to whatever degree we feel comfortable doing so. We ask it. We simply can say things like, I see you. We can start to notice it as you would notice a flower on a tree. Maybe you sit down right next to it. Literally place your attention right next to it and watch as if you were sitting, for instance, in an open field, and at the edge of this field, there was a dark forest and you saw a deer coming out of the forest. How would you approach that deer to have a relationship with it? You start seeing multiple animals maybe coming out of the forest and looking around and seeing what there is. And here you are in this open field, and are you jumping up and down, making loud noises, lighting firecrackers and shooting guns and stuff like that? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe you are. It wouldn't be my recommendation, right? Maybe you sit down and just sort of wait. You don't really make many sounds, or maybe you make a light humming sound or a buzzing sound, a calming sound, maybe a calming sound to you, or what that might be. And the animal, or whatever it might be, which is just an energy that's appearing, now starts to have a relationship with your attention, with your awareness. Okay, you're not inundating it, you're not sort of swamping it, you're not saying go away. You're just sort of witnessing it. And with that openness and curiosity coming from a place of being resourced, you'll start to notice that if there's any energy that you feel as if it's stuck, that needs to move, that it will actually start to move. There'll be a movement, there'll be maybe a subtle dance, maybe there'll be a vibration of it and stuff like that. As you're more resourced, you're going to be able to guide it. And that's the whole goal of this, right? Is to actually have a relationship with all the energies that arise, and to be able to guide them, to be able to have a relationship with them, guide them, and then be in partnership, in this co-creative partnership of life, of what is unfolding in this moment, and being totally okay with it, because you're part co-creator in that. Okay. So to remind you, just going to share my screen of a couple images. Okay, here's the skin. All right, because we're going to go to the skin. All right, here's the skin. Skin has three major areas. It's the epidermis, which is the very top layer, then a middle section, the dermis. Okay, and then the subcutaneous tissue. The dermis has the small blood vessels, capillaries, veins, and then the subcutaneous tissues have the larger blood vessels. Okay, there's also nerve fibers coming in and out. We have many receptors in the skin. The receptors are perceiving things like temperature, touch, fine touch, right? At 10 micrometers of touch, right? The difference in 10 micrometers of contact with our skin. Pressure, vibration, right? Different frequencies, whatever it might be. So you have a number of different sort of antenna perceiving organs right in the dermis and the epidermis layer of our skin. I showed you this scanning electron micrograph. Here's the epidermis here. All right, you can see almost looks like skin. Here's the dermis, and then here's this yellowish layer is some of the subcutaneous tissue down here. You can see how there's this sort of very interesting matrix of the cells, but yet you can see some blood vessels and nerves. But that, to me, if I'm thinking, wow, look at my skin, what I'm seeing there is I'm seeing a lot of space. I'm seeing a lot of space in this, right? And that space is filled with fluid, with extracellular matrix fluid. And then here's a picture that somebody drew, essentially. Here's the dermis, the epidermis here, and then the subcutaneous tissue. And you can see all this space, right? You can see not only the fat here in the subcutaneous tissue, but then the blood vessels, the connections that are made, but then also all the little tiny veins that go up into the tissue to keep it alive, but also for, to sense what we're touching from the outside world. So in today's practice, sort of keep an image in your mind's eye of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to go first into, we're going to see if we can go into the, we're going to start from the outside and see if we can sort of place our attention in these cells here. They're a little bit more compact, right? The dermis and the epidermis. And then we're going to go into the subcutaneous tissue, into the fatty layer. And below this would be the muscles. All right, so below this would be some muscular tissue, and then we would get to the bones. All right, so for this exercise, what we're going to do is we're just going to practice going from our resource to attention, essentially to what we're feeling, let's say with our finger, making contact with something with our finger, like touching it to our thigh. And then simply placing our awareness as if we could place our attention at these different layers and look out, like you put a chair right here. All right, get your most comfortable chair and place it right here, and look up or look to the side, or notice what you're noticing around in the most local environment there that you have. If you wish in this practice and you feel comfortable doing so, I'm going to guide you to go from that tissue layer and maybe place your attention into one of the blood vessels. When you go into one of the blood vessels, you can then choose, right? So this is like, it's sort of like, I forgot what the name of those books were, but it's sort of like choose your own adventure. Okay. So when you get to the blood vessel, right, and this is where anatomy sort of helps. Do you want to sit on the side of the blood vessel, like you're entering, the Colorado River, but you're standing on the canyon? Do you want to jump into the river? It's your choice. You could walk down the canyon, right? You could walk along the canyon walls and find a trail and continue on the canyon and just sort of look at the river every so often. Oh, not sliding in. Okay, good. Still safe. Yep, you're on the canyon walls. If you want to get out of the canyon, that's easy to do. There's a lot of subcutaneous tissue. There's a lot of extracellular matrix that's supporting your blood vessels. But you can choose to then go into the blood vessel and almost become like a raft. So you sit in your raft, and you go down your blood vessel. You can go towards your heart or away from your heart. And you just kind of go on a little journey and you see what you notice. But you don't have to. That's what I'm saying, right? It's like choose your own adventure. If you want to go and investigate like a nerve, go and investigate the nerve. If you want to investigate, if you want to just sit where you are at, and just sit where you're at. But from the nerve, for instance, you can go up your arm or down your arm. If you choose to go up your arm, you can go all the way to your spinal cord. From your spinal cord, then you can go all the way into your brain. That's a journey. From your blood vessel, you can choose anything that you want to do in your blood. You can go from your finger down to the smallest capillary and actually pay attention to the oxygen and the carbon dioxide that's being transferred at the cellular level. You can enter one of the cells, and we'll get into that next week, sort of looking at cellular anatomy. You can enter into one of the cells and you can go into the DNA. You can go into the nucleus of the cell. You can go into the DNA of the cell. It's your own adventure. And this is where I come back to again, the more you are aware of the various anatomy of the various layers, the more this sort of becomes an informative journey of you may notice certain energies that are appearing. You get, and simply asking the question, oh, I wonder what that is. That feels like it's an electrical impulse coming from my DNA, for instance. That feels like it's my mitochondria saying hi to me. Whatever it is, and then just asking, you can go into the cell and actually go spend some time with your mitochondria and see what they're doing. From your blood vessels again, you don't have to go to the smallest blood vessel. You can go back and take one of the veins up back to your heart. Okay, and then take your raft and put it on the side of your heart and just sit on the side of one of your muscular heart tissues as it's pumping. See what that's like. And as you get good at this, I would recommend kind of what Linda was alluding to, of kind of going to any tissue that you wish to choose, wish to investigate, wish to have a relationship with, whatever it might be.